how's the coursework, and anything about coursework?
So one of the big reasons why I actually went for Syracuse University was because of the coursework, to be honest. It provides you with so many electives. It's like one of those very few courses which has a lot of electives, and that electives range from like technical to management oriented. Like whichever course you want, you could just pick them up. And there are like three core courses that you have to do, and they are all three are like management oriented. And we have like 42 credits. So that's how the credit system works. Like we have 42 credits, and out of which 36 are compulsory to be done with the coursework, and the 6 are for the internship credits. So now it's up to you whether you want to file 6 credits for internship, or if you want to file 3 credits for internship. So a lot of students file 3 credits for internship. So if they file 3 credits, then it's like a 39 credit coursework. That means you'll have to do like 13 courses. And yeah, so you could take electives ranging from financial analytics to data science to marketing analytics to time series to applied economics, cloud management, project management. So the number of electives are too vast. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't go for UMCP, because it had a very rigid coursework as opposed to Syracuse.
Oh, okay. And
Yeah.
what's the core courses like? What are those?
So there are like 3 core courses and a one capstone project as well. So the 3 core courses were one was principles of information management. It was basically about learning about leadership, types of leadership styles, management structures, and learning a bit about emotional intelligence as well. The other core course was about case study analysis, the art of problem solving. How do you structure those courses? How do you structure and formulate an approach towards any of the problem that you face in the project management world or something, or maybe even in the consulting world. And one other last core course was about the information policy. So it was about how policies are being designed in the tech industry or even in the finance industry, and how data breaching takes place, freedom of information, and how it's very important to formulate those policies to ensure that consumers are protected within their rights and everything. So a lot of those discussions which you wouldn't find in any of the other courses you would take. So
That's so cool. I mean, it sounds pretty balanced, and since it's only 3 courses and rest 10 courses, you can make however you want it.
sure, yeah.
Technical, or you can make it management.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So what is it like first semester? People take 4 courses.
Yeah, there are like because it's a 13 course program. So yeah, there are 2 semester where you are expected to take 4 courses, and people usually take up summer course as well, one summer course or 2 summer courses, and then they take one semester with 3 courses, and to ensure that the last semester is like just for with 1 or 2 courses. That's it.
So that you have some time for
Yeah,
job.
sure, yeah. So, but to be honest, the coursework isn't that difficult as one would think of, because of the course load. Like there are 4 courses, and in many colleges there are like 2 courses in one semester, and it's like very hectic. But because it's like 4 courses, they aren't as difficult as you would think about. So it's pretty
Well,
easy to balance it.
like, give us an example of one of your favorite coursework or the courses you took so far in 2 semesters, and what is the like assignment looks like.
Oh yeah. So my favorite coursework had a very different assignment route as opposed to some other courses. I'll tell you one of my favorite courses. I took it from an MBA college. So that's also one of the advantages we have in our coursework. Like you can take 2 courses outside of your high school program, and you can take from any of the college if you want. If you want to take electrical courses, you can take. If you want computer science, if you want to take music classes, you can take that as well. Like 2 courses anywhere.
But that music class won't count under your masters, will it?
Yeah, I think it will count. Like yeah, I don't know whether someone has taken that or not, but you are allowed to take 2 courses outside of your college. So you just, maybe there's like a prerequisite filing or something. If it doesn't have a prerequisite, then I think so you're good to go and take that subject.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So there are like 2 options. So I took 2 MBA courses, and one of the MBA course was about data analytics and decision making. It is like one of the finest courses I've taken in my whole first year. And so we had learning about data analytics, and we had those quizzes. So instead of assignments in this course, we had only quizzes, and each quiz had like 3 attempts. So and we had to do that quiz every weekend. So because people were trying to score like full marks in the quiz, most of the times you had to do all the 3 attempts. So it would consume, and each quiz was like for 2 hours or 1.5 hours. So you had to spend like so much of time in first like learning in the classroom. Then we had those recorded lectures as well. So people before doing the quiz, they used to
wait until the last few days of your semester and then
yeah. No. So the thing was, quizzes were there every week. So this is like one of those very different courses. Instead of like the other normal courses, this course had like quizzes every week. So you had to give quiz every week. So you had to like give 3 attempts of quiz every week just to score that 100%. And you had to watch those lectures again. They were like recorded, and it had a bit of statistics and data analytics, something which was very important for all the students to understand. So it was a very tough course, but I really enjoyed it, and it made me learn more. I had to invest a lot of time in that course.
What
So it was a tough
one thing you learned and you felt like, wow, this is so cool.
the fact that quizzes were really challenging, and I really enjoyed the fact that I had to put in so much of effort just to learn and just to see. And the questions were every time the questions were different, and the questions were different for all the students. So for let's say if I have a quiz first attempt and someone is also giving quiz first attempt, we both will there are chances like it was like statistically determined and everything. So everyone had different set of questions. So it was really challenging, and it was the only course which had quizzes. If I talk about a normal course apart from this one in from the high school program, you have basic set of assignments, and they are not that difficult. And also your marks distribution are they're like divided in your class attendance, your class participation, which I really love about, and presentations and projects. So your 30%, 20%, everything is divided in such a way that you don't really have to stress a lot about assignments.
Yeah. I also just want to over here quickly make this announcement and disclaimer that yes, this probably was easy for him. It's not, it doesn't mean that it's going to be easy for a lot of people. I mean, I'm gonna,
yeah.
It was crazy. Like, I had every weekend or every other weekend, we had to submit a coding assignment, and, and if we take like 3 classes or 4 classes, that's like 4 coding big exams we had to do. So yes, maybe this program might be easy, or you might be more passionate about.
No. Actually, I'll tell you. Even the CS course in Syracuse also very tough. I mean, a lot of CS students complain about that, especially the data structures and algorithms classes and everything. Like they are considered to be one of the toughest courses. So yeah, even they complain a lot about how difficult their assignments are. MIS in general is not very difficult as compared to CS, because our the pathway and the future jobs that are aligned with MIS tends to be more management oriented, as well as you could take a bit technical jobs as well. That's perfectly fine. But the courses are too different and too vast. It's not like proper coding, because that's one of the main reasons why not an MIS student would go into CS.
Right.
So it's not very coding oriented, but it's also like very analytical. You require a lot of other skill sets which you don't really require in CS.
Assignment. Give an example of an assignment you did.
Now the example of assignments could be different for a management subject and for a technical subject. So I'll give an example for both of the courses. Let's say, so this semester I took a course, project management. So in project management, I had assignments where I had to develop a project charter. That was my first assignment. So project charter is like basically an official document where all the deliverables and everything is being written. So they gave us like a sample or something. They taught us about how project charter functions and how it's very important document considered in the industry. So one of the assignments was they gave us a sample questionnaire where a person, like about a team and about a project team and everything, and we had to develop a project charter for that. So that was one of the assignments. Then we had an assignment regarding MS Project. So we had to use MS Project to develop and do all the resources about how everything is done. And we had to like do that so it was great learning that tool. I had never used that while I was working.
I love it. This is what I live and breathe, so I know what you're.
You work with MS Project the whole day?
No, I mean I used to. I switched like the traditional project managers to Scrum Masters. So now we Atlas and Jira and
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Tools. I used to do Microsoft Project and project plans, and I know what you're talking about, project charter.
Yeah. So these are so these are like the management. This is like one of the project management courses. Now, if I talk about a technical course, let's say go for introduction to data science. So that course had a lot of data sets. Every assignment had one of the data sets, and we had to infer details or infer like use machine learning models or basic data analytics understanding using R programming. And we had to find some details and had to solve all the questions. Like, so that was one of the things. And basically, that was one of the courses which we had. So every week you had one assignment. It wasn't that difficult. There were some questions, some theoretical questions as well. Like, let's say, what does this function do? Why do we have to use this function?
Right.
How can we infer statistics using a different way? Could you please explain? So it was more of conversational and trying to understand how you really understood the concepts instead of just like kind of rote learning and using everything and using Google and everything. So
Yeah. What's the how many students do you have in a class?
It's like maximum there would be like 28 students. Our coursework has around 100 to 120 students, and every class has just like 28 students. So if like there is one of the classes where a lot of students want to go for and apply for, and because the class seats are so limited, a professor might start one more class where he could have the rest of the students. So yeah, that's one of the things. Unless until it's yeah.
What's the professor-student relation? Like, how are the professors? And
Yeah, I think that is like one of the best things I love about Syracuse. To be honest, I was really impressed by how, because people from different like backgrounds come into this picture, and like most of the students are there from the information field or maybe are from the computer science background, but there are a lot of students who are from like music. I had one of my group partners who was from music library, so he had basically no idea about programming in general. So I love the fact that professors were so curious to ensure that like you are able to understand everything, and it's like they are always available for you. And if you had some doubts or something in general, you could just mail them and they'll reply in a day or two. Yeah, but they had that strict. I love the fact that they always had that strict timeline about working till 5 p.m. or 4 p.m. maybe. So afterwards, they'll just reply you the next day, no matter what. So I also love the fact that they won't reply you on weekends as well. So
it depends. Yes, most of the professors would follow that, but I think it also depends. I mean, I know my professor for the fact he would also especially when he knew that we had an assignment due and we are questions on weekend, he would be available, and in fact he would also do like a virtual office hours. So in the evening, because we know he knows our schedule, so the professors over here are so flexible, and go above and beyond to help you and to make you successful. So yeah, I mean, yes, for what you said is probably true for a lot of there are professors which would also be available after hours.
So I told you one of the MBA courses I took where we had to submit quizzes every weekend. So the professor knew that we are going to do quizzes on every weekend instead of doing it on like weekdays or something. So she had to be available on weekends because she was bombarded with emails like stating, I couldn't understand this question. Could you please explain what the question is? I'm unable to solve the question in that quiz. So she used to be available on every weekends, and because the deadline was on Sunday night, so she knew there were a lot of questions going to come in. So it depends on how the assignment submission and deadline and all aspects come into place as well. So
what's your day like as a student of Syracuse? Like, what does your day look like from morning to evening? When do you wake up? When do you go to class? When do you go to on-campus job? When do you study?
So I think a day in a life of a United States student definitely changes every month, to be honest, because when I came to United States, I mean, I didn't really had to look forward to a lot of things. I didn't started applying and everything. So my day used to be like, and also like you have courses like 1 or 2 or 3 days. That's it in the whole week. So you have to go like 2 or 3 days, and depending on whether you have the on-campus opportunity, you work 20 hours. So based on that, I used to split that. So let's say if it's one of those days where I'm working as well as I have a lecture. So my lecture used to start from 9:30 until 12:30 maybe, and then from 1:30 to or 2, maybe 2 to 6, I used to have an on-campus job, and then I used to come back home and then maybe used to see if there are any assignments due or something, and then just used to cook my meal and everything. So not really much of a task those days, and there were those days where I just had to go for on-campus jobs. So wasn't really much of a tough thing initially, to be honest, but when I started applying and everything, I think so that was one of those times where it got really busy, because every weekend it used to go for like crazily, like applying for internships and looking like tailoring up your resumes and everything. So I think so that is one of those aspects which, combined with our on-campus jobs, which got in the combination of even applying for assistantships in while maintaining our academic good grades as well, and also trying to do up with all the daily course as well. So it kept it as a very busy day throughout the cycle, but it changed accordingly based on how I was looking forward to. Yeah.
That's awesome. I think you covered a lot of things. What is living in? I know you already mentioned like Syracuse is a small town.
Yeah.
Do you often go to New York?
Yeah, I actually went like a couple of times, maybe like 3 times in total. And I don't know when I'll go now. I mean, considering the situation.
Yeah.
Oh man, I watched YouTube videos of New York where it's like the drone videos are there without any people, and it's fascinating to see, but it's kind of sad at the same time. You don't see that lively.
Yeah, I
city.
mean, it's like Mumbai, right? Like
yeah. Definitely.
Mumbai with no people. It's just like
Yeah,
that.
it's a bit sad, but yeah, it's not that far. I mean, we have the R bus and Greyhound, which go from our college. Our college is actually one of those stops, so it's easy for you to go to New York or New Jersey. It's easy. And
is there any entertaining things in Syracuse or around your time, like around your town, or like it's pretty boring?
To be honest, you have a couple of restaurants out there in the downtown area. I would say it's a bit of more happening place, but in the college areas, I don't think it's one of those places where there is a lot of things happening. There is one Marshall Street, which is near to our MBA college, where we have a lot of Indian cuisines and a lot of Asian cuisines as well. So I think so that is like one of those happening places. But in general, Syracuse, it's very quiet place, and we have just one mall. It's like one of the biggest malls in the United States. That's it. It's like, yeah, and also the public transport really sucks, and so that's like one of the saddest things here, to be honest. And that's one of the reasons why you need to use bus transport. But thank God the Syracuse bus transports are really efficient, and it's free for all the Syracuse University students.
Yeah.
So that's a great thing. Yeah.
So I know we talked about a lot of things, but final question to you is, because a lot of students ask this, is job milega ki nahi?
ये साल तो कोई नहीं बता सकता. ये साल कोई नहीं बता सकता किसी को मिलने वाला है. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Not here, but in general, like, does students in Syracuse get the jobs and internship?
Yeah. So, I mean, considering this year as an exception, I think so. More like one of the best things about what Syracuse has done is maybe the college doesn't have that brand values compared to rest of the top colleges in the United States. But the fact that most of the students get a job is one of the best things about Syracuse. I mean, the career services are really fantastic, and the best part about Syracuse IM course is the Alumni Network. I think it stands apart from all the colleges. I think so. It definitely comes in the top 5 range of
Alumni Network. What does that mean?
Alumni Network means like the alumni who passed out from your college, and the kind of connections, the kind of contacts they have, the kind of positions they are in, and they are like super friendly. So you could we have sessions and webinars where there are a lot of alumni who are in Microsoft, in Google. They contact and they come and talk about a lot of things, what industry requirements are, and they easily connect with you. And you can also connect with them on LinkedIn. You could just search a lot of networks, and it's really good for your referral purposes, and also they could tell a lot about your culture of the work organization.
Right. Have you faced a situation where you reached out to an alumni who's working in Google or Syracuse and they never responded to you?
The answer is actually no. I've reached out any of my alumni who were in different parts in any of the firms, and I just told them like I am a upcoming or incoming Syracuse student, or I'm still like a first year IM graduate student at Syracuse University, and I was just wondering if you could just give me some advice regarding any of my resume tips, or how I do approach during an interview, or any of the work culture organizations. What should I look forward to? How should I present myself? What are the qualities that are required, and how should I try to improve them? And they were so sweet and generous. And in fact, I think so everyone replied me, to be honest. And that is a bit surprising, because they are super busy in their own lives, I mean, think about it, for someone who's a director of a big firm, and like, you don't really expect them to reply you, but they're so generous, and they even like would want to talk forward with you. They would want you to grow really well, and they feel so proud that there is, like, being an alumni, you actually get that power of, helping your juniors as well. I think so that is one of those giveaways you want to give, like, you want to do in once in a life, definitely.
Yeah,
So
that is awesome. I mean, yeah, I don't. I mean, it's kind of sad, which I'm saying this, but I don't know if Chico State has that kind of. I'm from Chico State,
yeah.
and I don't know if we have such a strong alumni network
Oh
where
yeah.
we would reach out and they would respond. I think they would. I've just never tried it,
I think they
but
would respond to you for sure. I think they would reach out to you for sure.
yeah, but yeah, no, and I take pride in helping all my students who
Yeah.
are in right now in Chico State and helping them with anything they
Yeah.
need, definitely. But yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Any final words of wisdom or advice would you give to students who are planning to come and thinking about coming? Like, what any advice to them?
Uh, so basically, one of the reasons like I decided to go for Syracuse and not UMCP was I even ignored the brand value. I knew that UMCP has a much bigger brand value than Syracuse, and I think that is one of the key concerns which I've seen amongst a lot of students. I mean, in India, definitely brand value matters a lot. No matter if you're from, like, they're considered to be like tier 1, tier 2 colleges. But in United States, I don't think that's that's one of the norms. I think even you are from a state college, you're also not from one of those very huge colleges, but still it didn't really matter. All that matters is the way you network, the way you use your career services, the way you use your alumni network,
Yeah,
and the opportunities that you get, the research assistantships that you are part of, and the kind of contributions that you make, and develop your resumes accordingly. So I think those are some of the key aspects that a person or a student who is coming and like looking forward to join any college should look forward to. And also look at the number of students in that course. There are courses in MIS in United States in colleges where there are like around more than 400 people in the same course, and even up to 700 people in the same course. That is insane, because not only just it impacts your career for opportunities, but it also impacts on the on-campus opportunities that you deserved to get but you couldn't get because of there's so much of stress and competition, and that can impact your emotional well-being as well. I think so this is something which not a lot of people think about in
yeah,
while they are planning forward. Just because the college is expensive doesn't mean you really had to avoid it. Yeah, I mean, of course, if your finances don't support it, obviously it's a better option to just
right.
skip that thing. But if you could, then definitely look forward about the opportunities in college, because
Yeah,
you
it's a
just don't. Yeah.
then consider those factors as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because you don't really want to get into a college just because it's cheap, and at the end of the day, you just want a job or something. I mean, that is like one of the key aspects, I think, because you'll miss out the student life, you'll miss out the opportunities and the contributions that you make in college.
Yeah,
So I think so that is one of the key aspects that a person should look forward to, and don't just stress a lot about the brand value, because apart from the Ivy League, I don't think so it matters a lot in United States. It's all
yeah,
about how you present yourself, how you sell yourself during your interviews, during your negotiation skills, during your communication skills, how you develop those things, and how you develop those hard skills and implement them in value added projects. So I think those are some of the key things that really matters.
that is awesome. Again, man, thank you so much for doing this. This was awesome. Till our next
Keep smiling and keep hustling.
time.